Councillor Farr.
Our live streamer Joey told me nothing was heard while the fire alarm was going off, so I just talked to the clerk, and I'll reiterate, I've written it down, so it is in condensed version. I just want to try to get an understanding through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, where a protocol dictates, even etiquette, to me it's an etiquette question, where we can just, it seems at times, willy-nilly create our own agendas on the fly at the end of these GICs. And in particular, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the clerk, when it's so blatantly obvious another standing committee's issue, and here we are at GIC, maybe because it's a bigger audience. I can't understand the motives behind some of these last-minute, willy-nilly outbursts, but why are we entertaining these when they're so blatantly obviously for the agendas of other standing committees, and maybe more appropriately in some occasions, and I won't get into detail, should be offered as notices of motion so staff and other colleagues who are either in attendance or not are not caught off guard in their communities.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, without shooting myself in the foot, yes, correct, items should go to the appropriate standing committee, and I know I've mentioned it once or twice. However, if a conversation does come up on the floor, it's not something that I personally could stop. It is up to the chair at the time to keep the matter or the discussion on the subject matter that's before you. Notices of motion should be provided in writing as per the procedural bylaw, so if there is a notice of motion, it should be provided in writing, but it really is up to the chair at the time.
So on the public works matter of the bike lanes, if that's the case, thank you, Stephanie, which was brought up in my absence, so I'm partly to blame. I had to leave the meeting early. I don't normally. One of my colleagues, who very engaged on the subject off the cuff, said, quote, how a project is identified, ... in the absence of any discussion, end of quote. I want to get it on the record, since it was a GIC where that comment was made, that I did very much have the discussion with staff. The ward councillor, it was a Ward 2 issue, Bay Street bike lanes. There was as well on the floor, Mr. Mader, our acting general manager of Public Works, answered this Public Works issue in General Issues Committee, stating that in July 2015, MTO had a call for submissions. Staff picked Bay Street because it best met the criteria for success. I was well aware of that, having been involved months and months and months and months before in preparation for this application. And it was either John Mader or the Public Works General Manager that actually signed off on this application. I won't get into other transcribed notes from that particular debate, but it was alleged that nobody knew what was going on, and I just wanted to get it on the GIC record as it relates to this Public Works matter that came off the cuff at the end of a GIC meeting, that I was very much engaged, the cycling community was very much engaged, and I'm sorry that Chris Murray, our city manager, had to think fast. Had I been in the room, and so I'll take partial blame here, I don't think poor Mr. Chris Murray would have been put in the position where he would have had to say, quote, I should think that if there is a direct impact on a ward councillor, or more than one ward councillor in the terms of an application, at minimum they should be aware of this. Again, if I'm in the room, Mr. Murray wouldn't have said that. So I just want to make it clear. It's tough sometimes. It's almost for me an etiquette issue. We just had it again today, where we're on the fly at the end of a meeting. If it's not breaking protocol, what am I going to do? I would just ask if we could just be a little more respectful. If it's a standing committee specific issue that doesn't relate, it's not relatable to this greater vast audience with all the press and all of us, then maybe we could just keep it to the standing issue committee where it belongs, these willy-nilly issues.
Thank you.
Thank you kindly. Councillor Whitehead.
Mr. Chair, I am just completely surprised. The reality is the General Information, or GIC, is a working committee of council, 1. 2, General Information section is an opportunity to ask for clarity on issues. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Well, it'd be nice for Councillor Farr to listen to it, but he's chose not to be here when that discussion originally took place, and now we're getting clarity, and he chooses not to be here again. So I don't know how to address it other than this has been a practice for years in respect. Councillor Farr, I got him on tape asking questions after general information for clarity on issues. This is no different. So I asked for a number of questions for clarity. Staff provided that information. There's been subsequent discussions since then, and it's pretty clear that there were some missteps. It's pretty clear that when staff or anyone makes applications where there's no funding in place, that there's a responsibility to bring that report back to committee and council. So I was trying to get some understanding and clarity. Staff provided that understanding and clarity. It happened at GIC, which is a working committee under general issues. So I don't want to leave Joey or anyone else that may be watching astray that anything was done wrong. So Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, at that meeting, if the discussion was taking place on the matter, it can be raised under general issues at the end of the committee. If a motion comes out of that, or notice of motion comes out of that, general issues is the appropriate place to do so, as I stated before. And I understand that both Councillor Farr and Whitehead now have their comments on the record for clarification. Beyond that, no, at the actual meeting, we do try to keep everything at the appropriate standing committee, but general information is the appropriate place to bring it if it is outside of that.
Yeah, and for clarification, there was an announcement made by the provincial government in my ward. I'm the chair of Public Works. I was not informed in any way, and I was trying to dig up the information, and there was no information in minutes or anywhere in any reports on what this could be possibly about. This was the very next meeting, an opportunity at GIC to get clarity at what transpired and how it came to be. So that's the explanation. Thank you.
Much. I believe that was simply general information or other business. I believe that we